Okay, so this would be the part 2 of your module 1, which is known as your circulatory system. So basically, we will be focusing on its components, and then later on sa lesson 3, our discussion will be about the transport system. So before we go to the components, let us have the different functions. So the main function of circulatory system is to transport nutrients, gases, waste products around the body. And then the second one would be to protect the body from infection and blood loss. So we will see later on our discussion, sino ba dito yung responsible na components para protektahan ang katawan natin from diseases. Okay, next. It helps to maintain a constant body temperature known as your thermoregulation. And then it helps to maintain fluid balance within the body. Okay, so we have three components. One would be the system of tubes or your vessels, or also known as blood vessels. And then we have your circulating fluids such as the blood and the lymph. And then you have the heart, which is known as the pumping organ, and also as known as the main organ of your circulatory system. So let's start with the system of tubes. Okay, so as you can see here, we have three illustrations of the blood vessels. Namely, you have your arteries, you have your capillaries, and then you have your vein. So when we describe the illustration about the blood vessels, arteries and veins are composed of um, muscles. Okay? Different muscles. Unlike yung pagdating kay capillaries, ito lang siya. When we describe the circumference of these two, si arteries at saka si vein, okay, mas maliit yung circumference ng artery doon kesa sa vein. Okay. So, bakit? So, yung maliit na circumference na yan, meron yung reason. Okay. What is that reason? Sabi natin, kung mapapansin nyo itong bandang part na to, may arrow going down. So, sabi, from the heart, and then may pupuntahan siya. Unlike doon sa vein, itong arrow nyo na to, going up, meaning to say, papunta naman siya sa heart. Okay. Now, when we look at the different structures, merong parang special structure pagdating kay vein, known as your valve. So, mamaya malalaman nyo what is valve. And then, dito sa may capillaries natin, connected siya dito sa mga arteries and sa vein. So, let us differentiate those three. Pag sinabi nating artery, since the main function of your circulatory system is to transport nutrients, gases, and waste products. So, ang ita-transport niya naman would be the blood. Okay, going where? Since sabi natin from the heart, okay? So, galing sa puso, away. So, meaning to say, papalabas or papalayo sa puso. So, meaning to say, papunta siya sa buong parte ng katawan ng tao. Okay, so that would be the transport system of your arteries. Now, in the type of oxygen na dala-dala ngayon ng artery, this one is what we call oxygenated blood. Kasi may dalawa tayong klase ng blood, oxygenated, deoxygenated. Pag sinabi mong oxygenated, mataas yung percentage ng oxygen na present na gas doon sa blood. Unlike doon sa deoxygenated, mas less yung percentage ng oxygen na meron na mas mataas ang carbon dioxide. Kaya siya tinawag na deoxygenated. So, as you can see here, may nakalagay na si artery nagkikerry ng oxygenated blood except yung pulmonary arteries. Okay. Malalaman nyo bakit exempted si pulmonary arteries. And then, so kagaya ng binanggit ko sa inyo kanina, yung walls ng arteries are much thicker than the vein and your capillaries. Why? It is designed like that kasi dahil manipis nga ito at kailangan niya pumunta sa iba't ibang parte ng katawan ng tao, yung blood na yun, kailangan ng mataas na pressure. So, kung maliit or manipis yung pinaka wall nito, hindi niya mare-resist na i-contain yung blood doon sa loob ng vessels niya na pwede nang sumirit. So if that would be the case, hindi talaga siya makakapunta sa buong parte ng katawan ng tao. Okay, so when it comes to elasticity, the same. Kailangan niya maging elastic para ma-hold at ma-contain niya yung blood within doon sa wall niya. Okay, unlike sa vein, itong vein natin, so nagka-transport din siya ng blood since ugat ito. Nagka-transport siya ng blood, pero this time, papasok naman sa puso kasi towards the heart. Okay, so this time, ang dala-dala naman niya ay deoxygenated blood, meaning to say, nanggaling siya sa buong parte ng katawan. Okay, so kinuha niya lahat ng mga waste materials, ng mga carbon, such as your carbon dioxide, going to our heart. And then when we compare the walls, it is much thinner than the artery. Bakit? Kasi lower na yung pressure or less na yung pressure dito. Hindi kailangan ng mataas na pressure ng vein, okay, nung blood dito sa vein, dahil isa lang naman ang pupuntahan mo, which is yung heart mo. Kapag masyadong mataas yung pressure mo, okay, dito sa may vein, mahihirapan ang heart natin na mag-pump ng mga blood na dala-dala niya. Okay, so less elastic kasi nga low lang or lesser lang naman yung pressure ng blood. Now, as you can see, meron tayong specialized na organ dito or body part nung vein ninyo, which is your valve. So, sabi natin, si valve, ito yung part ng vein na nagpe-prevent na mag-backflow. Meaning to say, yung babalik, okay, babalik yung dugo. Bakit ba kailangan i-prevent yung backflow? Kapag kasi pinabayaan ng vein na magkaroon ng backflow, hindi niya or kukulangin kaya yung supply ng dugo na kailangang i-pump ng heart. Okay, so basically, yan yung pinaka-function ng valve natin. So, para siyang gate. Okay, capillary. So, siya yung pinakamanipis among those blood vessels. Bakit? Bakit siya dinesign na manipis? Kasi this time, dito sa blood vessel na ito, itong capillaries na to, dito nagkakaroon ng exchanges of material such as your gases. Since ito may dala na waste material, siya naman may dala na oxygen-rich na blood. So, dito nangyayari yon. Ma'am, saan po ba, parang narinig na po namin yung capillaries. So, in our first discussion about respiratory system, sabi natin, doon sa alveoli ninyo, may nakapalibot na parang ugat that is known to be your capillaries. Sabi natin, when we describe your alveoli, this is the site of gas exchange. So, dito nagkakaroon ng palitan between ng oxygen at saka ng carbon dioxide. So, para madala doon at matransport doon yung mga may carbon dioxide, ang nadadaanan niya would be si capillaries. Okay? So, doon din pumapasok yung oxygen. So, hindi lang naman gases, even the nutrients at saka yung mga iba pa na mga material na kailangan ng katawan natin. So, those are for blood vessels. Now, sorry. So, we have this one. So, may tatlo tayong kulay. You have your red, you have here your blue, and then yung parang purple yung kulay niya. Bakit red, ma'am? Kasi sabi natin, it signifies na ang dala-dala niyang blood is oxygen-rich. So, dahil galing siya sa heart, this blood vessel is known as your artery. Unlike dito, dahil bluish yung color, so sabi natin at some point, parang galing siya sa iba't ibang parte ng katawan eh. So, kumolekta muna siya ng mga waste materials, parang yung mga garbage truck na, yung sa truck ng basura. Okay, so sila yung kumukuha nun. So, dahil papunta sa puso ito, this one is known as your vein. And then, since ito yung connection ng dalawa, ng artery at ng vein, at ito yung pinakamanipis sa kanilang dalawa, this one is what we call capillaries. Okay, next. So, dito naman, ipinapakita sa inyo yung mga types ng blood vessels. So, kanina, dinescribe natin yung isa. So, when it comes to the circumference, kailangan ng mas maliit. Okay, maliit na circumference ng artery para tumaas yung pressure, para mabilis niyang mapupuntahan yung iba't ibang parte ng katawan ng tao. So, dahil artery ito, the movement of the blood would be away from the heart, papalabas ng puso. Okay, unlike this one, si vein, dahil medyo malaki ang circumference niya, hindi niya kailangan ng mataas na pressure or mabilis na pagdaloy ng dugo. Okay, bakit? Kasi iisa lang naman yung pupuntahan niya na part ng dugo, part ng katawan, which is your heart. So, dahil vein ito, so the movement of the blood would be going back to your heart. And since this one, hindi naman siya napapalubutan ng iba't ibang muscle and it should be designed this way para mabilis yung exchange ng materials, this one is what we call capillary. Okay, so the direction will be to and fro kasi exchanging of materials tayo dito. Okay, next, blood. Yung pangalawang component ng circulatory system. So, what is blood? So, this is known as the circulating fluid tissue na nagkikarry ng mga materials palibot sa buong katawan. Now, kung merong dinaanan, syempre kailangan may dadaan. So, ito nga yung blood. So, si blood, para makapag-circulate siya at para masabi mong fluid tissue siya, dapat more of parang watery yung kanyang itsura or yung state. So, ano-ano ba yung composition ng blood? So, we have 3 composition, such as your blood plasma, blood cells, and blood platelets. So, yung 55% ng composition ng blood, that is only for or merely for blood plasma. So, sa 55% na yun, okay, 92% nun ay tubig, and then the remaining 8% would be proteins and other substances, such as yung salt and the likes. Ay, bakit, ma'am? Kasi kailangan natin ng dumaloy ng maayos yung dugo. That's why mas mataas yung plasma compared doon sa blood cells and blood platelets. Okay, so yung blood cells natin, meron tayong dalawa. You have your RBC and WBC. Okay. So, 45% yun at saka yung blood platelets. So, describe natin. So, type of blood cells. RBC, red blood cells, are also known as erythrocytes. Okay, so siya yung pinaka-abundant, meaning to say, ito yung pinakamarami. Okay? And then, syempre, yung function niya mainly for transport of gases and nutrients around our body. And then, meron siyang specialized na protein doon sa part niya. Bakit, ma'am? Kasi si hemoglobin, ito yung responsible. Bakit siya nagiging red? Kasi meron siyang iron, okay, na dala-dala, kaya siya nagiging red. Okay. Next, white blood cells or yung tinatawag nating leukocytes. So these are the type of blood cells wherein the main function is to fight against the infection. So mainly, ang function niya is to defend or to protect our body from diseases. Okay, so may dalawa tayong klase ng leukocytes or WBC. Ang tawag doon ay granulocytes and agranulocytes. So, as you can see here, itong 5 classification ng WBC dito, nahahati yan sa dalawa. Itong first 3, tinatawag nyo siyang granulocytes. And then, itong last 2 na to, tinatawag nyo siyang agranulocytes. From the word itself, granules. As you can see here, itong first 3 na to, doon sa cytoplasm, may makikita kayong parang mga granules. Okay. Yan, while doon sa dalawa, last 2 na to, wala, kaya siya tinawag na agranulocytes. Ngayon, dito sa granulocytes at saka sa agranulo, meron silang way para maprotektahan yung katawan natin para hindi pumasok yung mga foreign bodies sa ating mga sistema. Ito yung one of this would be engulfing, meaning to say, kinakain nila yung mga bacterias, yung kumbaga, yung mga hindi pamilyar sa kanila. Okay. And then, yung isa naman, parang parang gagayahin, they are trying to mimic, gagayahin nila yung mga virus or yung bacteria na papasok sa iyo. And then once na hindi na-threaten yung WBC doon sa community or sa culture ng viruses na yon, that's the time nakakainin nila ngayon yung mga viruses and bacteria. And then pagdating naman doon sa isa pa, so aside from engulfing, okay, aside doon sa kinakain nila yung mga viruses, sometimes they are using yung sa nagre-release ngayon sila ng antibodies. Okay, so alam niyo na yung antibodies para saan yan. So, nagre-release sila ng antibodies para hindi para mapatay nila, okay, yung mga viruses and bacteria na pumasok sa katawan. And then, blood cells na platelets. So, platelets are not considered as blood cell. Bakit? Kasi they are known as your pseudocells. Okay, pag sinabi natin pseudo, they are fake. Bakit fake, ma'am? Kasi they are merely fragments of your RBC and WBC. So, hindi talaga siya blood cell. Okay? So, yung thrombocytes nyo, kaya irregular ang shape niya. Then at the same time, yung pinaka-function niya is to clot the blood. Paano ba nagka-clot ng blood? So for example, nasugatan ka, and then makikita mo na pag natuyo siya, parang may net. Kasi yun yung binubuo or lumalabas na protein ng katawan natin. And then yung mga protein na yun, yung sticky protein na yun, pag lumabas yung dugo ninyo or dumalo yung dugo ninyo doon sa open wound na yun, yung mga platelets, yung unti-unting dumidikit doon sa mga parang net, kaya nagka-clot ang blood. Okay? So, in here, so you are asked to match the labels and the blood cells. So, kanina, di ba sabi natin, the main function or one of the function of circulatory system is to protect our body. So, sino ba yun? Sino ba yung responsible doon? So, that would be your white blood cells. Kaya irregular ang shape nila kasi minsan ginagaya nga nila yung mga foreign bodies or bacteria and viruses na pumapasok sa atin. Unlike nung parang red na bilog or yung disc concave na yan, that would be your red blood cells. Okay? Kaya siya tinawag na red kasi present yung hemoglobin. And then we have your platelets. Okay? So, irregular din ang shape niya kasi nga, they are fragments ng RBC at WBC. So, when it comes to functions, so, syempre, ang nagke-carry lang or nagta-transport lang ng oxygen and nutrients would be your RBC. So, fighting microbes would be your WBC. While for your platelets, they form blood clots. Okay. Next. Lastly, we have the heart. Okay. So, heart is described as a muscular organ located between the lungs in the center of the chest or your thoracic cavity, which is tilted going to the left. Kaya nga, nung diniscuss natin yung respiratory system, tinanong ko kayo, bakit dalawa lang yung lobe ng left lung ninyo? That is to give way doon sa function ng heart natin. And if you want to know the size of your heart, sabi, kasing laki lang daw ng kamao ng tao na yon. So, the main function of the heart is to pump the blood continuously around the body. And sabi nga natin, this one is an involuntary muscle. Kasi hindi natin pwedeng kontrolin na hihinto siya or what. Kasi kapag huminto yan, dedo ka na. Okay, so ano ba yung structure ng heart? So we have the chambers, they have the vessels, and then you have the bulb. So chambers, dalawa lang yan. Okay, upper part, and then the lower chamber. Pag sinabi mong upper chamber, those are known as atria. Okay, and then the lower chambers, this one is what we call the ventricles. Okay, doon sa atria ninyo, plural yun, dalawa yun. Kapag isa lang, atrium. Sabi natin kanina, kapag kulay blue, it signifies na ang daladala niya ay mas maraming carbon dioxide instead of oxygen. So, deoxygenated ang dala niya. Kapag naman pula, Ibig sabihin, ang daladala na nito or dumadaloy na sa kanya would be oxygenated blood, which means mas mataas na yung porsyento ng oxygen na daladala or carry ng blood na yun. Okay, next, we have the valves. So, sa valves, sabi nga natin, ito yung nagpe-prevent ng pag-backflow ng dugo. So, para sila yung mga gate. So, ito, between your right atrium and your right ventricle, ang bubukas na valve sa kanya would be tricuspid valve. Unlike doon sa left atrium, at saka doon sa left ventricles, ang mag-open naman dito would be the bicuspid valve. Okay, itong dalawa, semilunar valve. Pero, para guided tayo, alamin nyo kung saan papunta. Kapag papunta sa may lungs, okay, itong lunar valve na mag-open would be pulmonary semilunar valves, pulmon, papunta sa lungs. Kapag papunta ka naman sa aorta, which is the biggest artery na meron tayo, this one would be aortic semilunar valve. Okay. Next, vessels. Ano naman yung vessels? So, ito yung mga blood vessels na dinadaanan ng dugo. Dahil, okay, papunta tayo saan? Papunta tayo sa puso, ang tawag doon ay mga veins. Okay, so we have your vena cava. So, you have here, kapag sa taas, so you have two, superior and inferior. Doon sa upper extremities from head, papunta sa heart, that ang dadaanan niyang vena cava would be superior. Pag from your foot, papunta sa heart, ang dadaanan niya naman would be inferior. Now, as you can see here, yung atrium natin, sabi natin, these are known as the receiving area. So, kahit galing ka pa sa taas at galing ka pa sa baba or sa lower extremities, magmi-meet pa rin kayo doon sa may right atrium. Okay. So, dahil galing to sa may lungs natin, okay, ang tawag naman dito, at dahil papunta siya sa puso, pulmonary vein. Kukuha. Okay. So, ngayon, ito, pulmonary artery. Bakit pulmonary? Kasi papunta ulit sa lungs. Dahil away from the heart, artery siya. Ma'am, kanina sabi nyo, pag artery, ang dala-dala po ay oxygenated. Sabi natin, except for pulmonary artery. Okay, kasi lilinisin pa lang siya. Kailangan niyang pumunta ng lungs. Okay, so this one naman, pag pulmonary vein, sabi natin kanina, pag vein, kailangan deoxygenated blood. Kasi papunta sa puso, galing ibang parte. Kaso, ang pinanggalingan niya this time would be the lungs. So, nagkaroon na ng gas exchange, yung deoxygenated mo, naging oxygenated na. Okay, tinawag siyang vein kasi papunta siya sa puso. So, nagigets yun. Okay. Next tayo. So, how does a pump blood around the body? So, sabi natin, one cardiac cycle that is equivalent to one heartbeat. So, ano bang nangyayari pag nagkakaroon ng heartbeat? So, stage 1. Time stage. Okay, so stage 1 tayo. So, sa oxygenated blood natin, okay, so what happened is that, here, so sabi, i-receive ng mga chambers. So, ito, ang dala niya ay deoxygenated. Unlike this one, dahil galing lungs, ang dala niya oxygenated. So, marireceive. Pag na-receive na, okay, kapag na-receive na ng dalawa, mag-open si tricuspid at saka si bicuspid, pero this time, makikita nyo na sarado yung parehas ng semilunar valve. Dahil puno na to, kailangan niya nang i-release. So, tatanggapin naman siya ni ventricles. So, once na ma-full yung blood ng ventricles, magko-contract ulit siya. Okay? Magko-contract. Sasara ngayon yung dalawang valve dito, yung bicuspid at saka yung tricuspid. This time, ang mag-open naman yung dalawang semilunar, pulmonary at saka aortic. Bakit? Kasi ang movement mo na or ang way mo na ay papunta sa lungs at papunta sa buong katawan. Okay, so bakit ba kailangan sumasarado ng valve? Sabi natin, to prevent the backflow of the blood. Okay, sa fourth stage naman, so ganun pa din. So kapag lumabas na, di syempre may kailangan, may i-receive na ulit sila. Kasi nga, continuously yung pagpapump ng heart natin. Okay, next. So, lesson 3, transport system. So, mayroon lang tayong tatlong klase ng transport system. Okay, paano ba nagpo-flow or paano ba nagtatransport yung mga dugo na yan sa buong katawan natin? So, sabi, did you know that the flow of blood in our body is similar to one-way road? Bakit one-way? Para hindi mag-mix yung oxygenated nyo sa deoxygenated blood. So, ang mga responsible dyan would be the 3 blood vessels that we have discussed kanina. Okay, such as your arteries, your veins, and your capillaries. Okay, so ano ba yung types ng circulation na meron tayo? Kapag ang circulation mo is from the heart papunta sa lungs, ang tawag doon ay pulmonary circulation. Kapag ang movement naman ng blood is within the tissues of the heart, so sa puso lang, ang tawag doon ay coronary. Pag mula sa puso hanggang doon sa buong katawan, except for the lungs, ang tawag doon ay systemic circulation. So, that would be the end of our lesson 2 and lesson 3. So, you will now answer 4 activities that you have in your module. So, activity 2.1, circulatory system mind map. So, you could use our lesson at saka pwede nyo rin basahin yung what is it part ng module ninyo. And then, yung activity 2.2, yung comparing blood vessels, okay, na ginawa natin kanina. And then, doon sa may lesson 3, journey of your blood, yung heartbeat na gagawin natin, we will be performing this today. Okay? So, that would be the end of this video lesson.